Herpes is incredibly common. Last year there were about 30,000 new cases diagnosed, and most of those were affecting young people, so people between the ages of 20 and 24. Herpes refers to a whole family of viruses, and there are many different strains. Usually it's herpes simplex 1 and herpes simplex 2 that are the strains involved in genital pathology. Herpes is transmitted from person to person in a couple of ways. Firstly, through exchange of bodily fluids, which means through sex, and secondly, by skin-to-skin contact. So even if a cold sore comes into contact with a genital area, it could spread. It's less likely, in fact impossible, for you to get herpes from a toilet seat or from a towel, simply because the virus doesn't survive that long outside the body. The symptoms of herpes first of all begin with the initial attack as painful red blisters that may burst and leave ulcerating lesions. These usually happen in the first couple of weeks. After that's cleared up, because it will clear up by itself, you're then still left with the virus that may lie latent. So therefore it might not cause you any symptoms, but it may flare up again in time, at which point you would get a recurrence of ulcers. Not everybody with herpes is going to have symptoms. Because the virus can lie dormant, it might be the case that you have no lesions, no ulcers, and yet you're still carrying the virus, and it can still be passed on from person to person. That's why, even if you don't have any lesions, if you've previously had herpes, it's really key to still use barrier contraception so as not to pass it on to another partner. Because the virus lies latent, it is still possible 5 or 10 years after your last flare-up to still infect a partner with herpes. To test for herpes, the test is quite simple and again very non-invasive. I would suggest that you go to a genitourinary medicine clinic to have the test done. If you go there or if you see your GP, one thing they will do is they will take a sample of liquid from the lesion onto a swab and send it off to test for the virus. The treatment for your first case of herpes is going to be a course of acyclovir, and normally you take that for 5 days and about 5 tablets a day. It's key to say that this is not actually going to kill the virus strain, which will lay dormant, but what it will do is clear up those lesions. If you find you're having more than 6 flare-ups a year, your GP might want to treat you for recurrent herpes, and in this case they would give you acyclovir to take on a regular basis. They might continue this for the entire year, and then try to stop it and see if the recurrences have become less. Once you have herpes, we never manage to completely get rid of the virus. It tends to lie latent. The key thing to say is that the frequency of attacks diminishes greatly after the first 2 years.